Brr. Oh, it's cold in Oregon. Whew. All right, let's get this race report done, huh? What's going on, guys? Walter with the RC Addiction Vlog. We've got our race report back to you guys from this weekend of on-road racing up at Twisted Steel. And yeah, just wanted to go over a couple of things and find out what you guys would do, what your guys' opinions are. I want to hear from you subscribers out there, other RCers that are in the racing community. Want to know what you guys would do in some of these scenarios. So don't forget to make sure you hit that subscribe button and then make sure you click that bell for all the notifications for the channel because we really love to hear from you guys. So let's start out the first scenario. We had a scenario in one of our classes that I was racing where me and a friend of mine, our transponders got mixed up. As the qualifying round was getting ready to start and everybody was getting checked in, the transponders between the two different cars got mixed up in Live RC to where it showed his car that had my name on it and my car that had his name on it. And at the end of the qualifying round, it caused quite the grief because, it showed that I had gotten the fast time that my friend had gotten. And on Live RC, that's for life. It doesn't change. Even when you change the transponder numbers, I believe in Live RC, it doesn't change the lineup once the race is completed. And of course, your qualifying round determines how you are lined up for the A main. And in our in our scenario, the way Twisted runs it is you do one qualifying round and two double A main features, which we really like that layout. It works really well, gives you plenty of racing throughout the day, even if you're only racing one class. So it's a cool format. But when you have scenarios like this, it changes the layout in the main features, because if you top qualified in the qualifier, it's going to put you on the pole, lining up first in the first A main. And so that it can throw a monkey wrench into things because of course then the person that should be starting up front is not, based on what the board says, and that sometimes making sure we have the correct data in our hobby can make or break the experience. And so we always got to make sure that when you're checking in at races, and this is kind of what I took from the scenario, is that when the track RD is trying to get all the transponders checked in, I feel like the racers should have a little bit more patience with the RD, giving him a chance to double 100%, 110% confirm that he's got all the transponders correct, even if that means having to make another pass under the loop and come back around to the start finish before the start of the race. But let me know what you guys think. It's tough because when you're racing with friends, in our scenario, it was real easy. It was like, okay, we'll just put his car in front of mine. But it was just a club race. It wasn't anything sanctioned. It wasn't something that it was very important whether or not this live RC, really stated what had happened. So it's a little bit different dynamic when you talk about club racing versus what may have been a sanctioned race, or something like that. Whole different scenario. But I'd still love to hear from you guys on what your thoughts are on that. So make sure you drop your comment below on that one. Second scenario, GT12R was the class we're going to talk about next. And my car, it's been a really good car. It's the CK25AR. We've been just getting better and better at driving it every time we get behind the wheel on it. And this weekend, I didn't qualify for the A main. I was just a little bit slower. I feel like my tire sauce and setup wasn't quite there during my qualifier. I knew the car was good, but I felt like I was a little off driving as well. So I didn't qualify for the A main. And there was 13 entries, so we were going to have a B main regardless. And I got put into the B main, and I started in the back of the B main to make matters even worse. And when it comes to a B main and trying to fight for a transfer spot, it can be a little hectic, right? Because it throws just one more race into the bunch that you weren't necessarily expecting. And but when we get into the B main, my car is decent and I'm doing really well. And due to some other drivers having some errors, I end up in the lead about halfway through the race. And during that period of time, a couple of the other racers that were faster than me did catch up to me. But instead of, going with the race pace and just figuring out a clean line of passing, I got drove into the corner and just teed off and kicked off into left field, without there being any racer etiquette of that racer waiting for me to get marshaled and get back in line. Um, and there was no penalty from the RD to dock him a lap for driving that way. You guys can watch it. I just loaded the GT12B main on the channel yesterday. You can watch it. It's in that race. It's frustrating because sometimes there's certain racers that want people to, you know, hold themselves to a higher standard in the RC racing community, but then they don't hold themselves to it. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a bummer deal for some of us when we see that firsthand, you know. Um, and I will say that they're not the only ones. I am very guilty of that as well. And I had my own scenario. And you know, it's one thing if it's a racing incident. I get that. You know, when you're bumping and racing, that there's going to be incidents where you get kicked to left field because of the cars that were running and how fast they're going. And I mean, I get that. But when you rewatch a video and you get just straight up teed to left field, it's such a bummer deal because it's not like, um, you know, someone like myself may be able to recover from that. And maybe that's what the idea is there. I don't know. But, you know, I wish that we would have a little bit more racer etiquette in that form, and just understanding that the way you drove or, you know, knock somebody out or flip somebody over was not the right way to do it. You know, especially when you've asked that of other people and other people have done that to you and you've been upset. So it kind of goes both ways. But let me know what you guys would do. What would you say? How would you react? Those types of things. Because sometimes it's hard to keep it cool, especially when you're racing with all your friends. And it's just a club race, right? I mean, there's 13 entries, so of course everybody wants to make it to the A main. But we're not racing for money either. So it's kind of one of those things we got to take it in stride and realize, you know, that it's just a club race. There's nothing that's going to happen beyond this. So, but that's, you know, that's part of RC racing sometimes. But that's our second scenario. Third scenario that we had, which was actually my fault. I had a scenario where a driver who was flipped upside down in the midst of being marshaled was yelling caution down the straightaway sweeper, and I was actually catching the leader and doing pretty well in my first A main. Since I had bumped from the B main, which was cool. So I was on a roll and knew that my car was going good. I had dialed some more stuff in, and yeah, he yelled caution, caution, caution in the sweeper. The RD yelled caution as well, and my tunnel vision kicked in, and I just plowed right into him. And I had to step away from that scenario knowing that if I would have just checked up and maybe looked ahead of me for a split second to be able to drive around that and just gone around that a little slower, that was actually the faster line than rather than having just tunnel vision and blowing right through them and then having to get marshaled as well myself. So it just ended up costing me more time as far as trying to catch the leader, which I didn't at that point because it was too far in the race. And yeah, I mean it's a that part's a learning experience for me. I mean, I'm only, you know, a couple years into racing RCs in carpet specifically. But you know, we're gonna learn every time we go out on the track with these things, and every time we race with our friends and our colleagues that we see on the weekends and during all of our racing and RC stuff. And so we have to make sure that we're polite and understand. And I did. I apologized after the race. I got done. I apologized and told him, like, dude, I should have heard. I knew I heard you yell caution. I was more focused on catching our other buddy who was the leader at the time, and I shouldn't have been. It cost me more time and all the things. It cost him pieces on his car, and then eventually cost me pieces on my car in the second A main. Because I believe that it had broken the first race, and I just didn't catch it before the car went back on the track, which is shame on me. So I mean, there's definitely some things to take away from this last weekend, and you know I wanted to just kind of give you guys a full race report of how I saw this weekend and how it went down. And but like I said, I always enjoy RCing with the buddies. It is always a hoot. and I'll never quit doing it. And I just enjoy it too much, guys. And I hope you guys do too. But that's race report number one for racing it on road at Twisted Steel. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Catch you later.